When Jackson Reed bought his property on the outskirts of town, it was for one reason: privacy. He had spent years saving, finding the perfect plot of land that gave him peace, space, and the freedom to build exactly what he wanted. Over 50 acres of rolling hills, open fields, and wooded areas, his dream sanctuary. But he never expected the HOA to see it as anything other than a playground for their power. The trouble started when the HOA, led by their increasingly aggressive president, Susan, began sending notices claiming parts of his land were within the community boundaries and subject to HOA regulations. Jackson had repeatedly explained that his property was privately owned and well documented in county records. But Susan, who seemed determined to assert control wherever she could, ignored the facts. Things escalated faster than Jackson could have imagined. One morning, he received an official-looking notice in the mail. The HOA claimed they had started construction on the portion of his land that they insisted belonged to the community. He nearly dropped the envelope in disbelief. He drove over to inspect the site and was greeted by the sight of freshly built foundations, construction crews, and heavy machinery already at work. Jackson's stomach sank. "They can't just do this," he muttered, pacing along the tree line of his property. "This is mine. I have deeds, survey maps, and county approval. This is illegal." He approached the crew supervisor, who seemed nervous at Jackson's arrival. "Excuse me," Jackson said. "I own this property. You have no right to build here." The supervisor looked down at his paperwork. We were told the HOA approved it. They said everything is cleared." Jackson's eyes narrowed. "Approved by whom? They have no authority over private land that isn't part of the subdivision. This is my property." The crew hesitated, unsure how to respond. In the meantime, Susan appeared, clipboard in hand, exuding confidence. "Jackson, we've been trying to be flexible," she said. "The community needs this development. We followed proper procedure." Jackson clenched his jaw. "Proper procedure? You're trespassing, destroying my land, and building structures that belong nowhere but on my deeds. Stop this immediately." Susan smirked, seemingly unafraid. "You'll have to take us to court if you want to stop progress." Jackson smiled, but it was a cold, calculated smile. "Funny you should mention that," he replied. He had anticipated something like this. Weeks earlier, he had contacted a property attorney and prepared for exactly this type of scenario. He had all the survey documents, previous HOA communications, and official approvals ready to file a lawsuit. He returned home and began organizing the paperwork meticulously. Each map, each deed, each recorded notice of trespass was cataloged. He drafted a formal letter to the HOA, detailing their illegal actions and notifying them that a lawsuit would be filed immediately if construction did not cease. Meanwhile, word of the dispute spread through the neighborhood. Some residents expressed shock at Susan's audacity. "She can't just build on someone else's land," said one neighbor. "That's insane." Others, intimidated by the HOA's usual authority, stayed silent, unsure of what could be done. Jackson's attorney filed the complaint that afternoon. The filing included photographic evidence of the foundations, survey maps clearly marking Jackson's property, and a detailed account of all prior communication with Susan and the HOA. Within 24 hours, the court had issued an emergency injunction, halting all construction on his land immediately. Susan called Jackson, her tone suddenly less confident. "Jackson, we didn't know it would escalate this fast. Can we negotiate?" Jackson stayed firm. "Negotiation? You've already trespassed, damaged my land, and tried to assert control over property that isn't yours. The only negotiation possible now is through the courts." The HOA scrambled to respond. Their legal team, clearly unprepared for Jackson's meticulous documentation and rapid action, started panicking. They had assumed the property was part of the community because of outdated maps and their own assumptions. But Jackson had every official record proving ownership. In the days that followed, the story of the 100 houses on Jackson's land became a cautionary tale in the community. Residents who had previously feared the HOA now whispered about Susan's overreach and incompetence. Jackson remained calm, documenting every move, every email, every phone call. He knew patience and preparation were far more powerful than anger. While the court proceedings were pending, Jackson walked his property daily, inspecting the land. The foundations had been poured, but were now abandoned, the construction crews sent home. It was surreal to see structures rising on his property and then suddenly halted, frozen mid-progress. He imagined what could have happened if he hadn't prepared ahead, and felt a quiet satisfaction, knowing that foresight had saved him from significant damage. Susan tried several desperate tactics. She called city inspectors, hoping to find a code violation that would invalidate Jackson's ownership claims. She sent letters to residents, trying to frame the situation as a community expansion issue, rather than an illegal incursion. But Jackson was ready for each move. He had legal counsel prepared, witnesses ready to testify, and a complete paper trail proving his case. At one point, Susan even attempted to intimidate Jackson by showing up at his property with a security detail. But Jackson remained composed. He calmly recorded the interaction, ensured neighbors observed the encounter, and documented every detail. Each attempted intimidation only strengthened his case and demonstrated the HOA's overreach. By the time the initial court date arrived, the HOA had no choice but to appear. Jackson's lawyer presented the case with precision: property deeds, county survey records, photographic evidence, and witness statements showing both the construction and the HOA's repeated insistence that the land belonged to them. The judge, reviewing the evidence, was firm. The injunction was extended, and the court made it clear that the HOA could face significant penalties if they attempted further construction or harassment on Jackson's land. Susan's attempts at control had backfired spectacularly. Jackson walked out of the courtroom, feeling vindicated. He had protected his property, ensured the law was enforced, and demonstrated to the community that no matter how bold an organization might be, careful preparation and patience could turn the tide in favor of justice. After the injunction was in place, Jackson didn't relax. He knew that Susan and the HOA were desperate and could attempt underhanded tactics to bypass the court order. Over the next few weeks, he kept a close watch on his property, checking cameras, walking the boundaries, and ensuring no unauthorized personnel set foot on his land. Neighbors, previously intimidated by the HOA's aggressive tactics, began approaching him. "Jackson, I can't believe she actually tried to build on your property," said Mr. Harper, who lived nearby. "Most of us just assumed the HOA had power over everything." Jackson nodded. Assumptions can be dangerous. Always know your rights and document everything. That's what protects you in situations like this. Meanwhile, Susan tried to rally support for her position, sending emails to residents claiming the land was community property and that Jackson was obstructing progress. But the community had already started seeing through her manipulations. People who had once deferred to the HOA began questioning its authority and actions. As the lawsuit progressed, the court demanded detailed evidence from both sides. Jackson's preparation made the HOA's defense look sloppy in comparison. Outdated maps, assumptions, and unsupported claims couldn't compete with official property deeds, survey reports, and detailed photographic evidence. Susan's legal team struggled to counteract the meticulous documentation Jackson had submitted. During one court session, the judge expressed frustration at the HOA's lack of diligence. "It appears your organization acted recklessly, building on land without proper verification. This is not a minor oversight. It is a serious violation of property rights. Susan's face turned red as murmurs filled the courtroom. Jackson remained calm, confident in the strength of his case. His lawyer continued presenting evidence of the HOA's repeated communications demanding access, the unauthorized construction, and the intimidation attempts, all meticulously documented. Finally, the court ruled in Jackson's favor. The HOA was ordered to halt any construction immediately, and all foundations on his land had to be removed at their expense. Additionally, Susan and the HOA faced fines for trespassing and unlawful construction. The ruling sent a clear message: no one could overstep legal boundaries without consequences. Jackson returned to his property, feeling a sense of relief. He walked the perimeter, inspecting the cleared land where the foundations had been demolished. It was satisfying to see the untouched acres restored, a symbol of his patience, preparation, and unwavering defense of his property. The HOA's reputation suffered irreparably. Residents began speaking out about past abuses, sharing stories of intimidation and overreach that had previously gone unchallenged. The board was forced to implement stricter checks, ensuring that no single member could unilaterally make decisions impacting private property again. Jackson's victory became a cautionary tale. Neighbors, once fearful, now understood the importance of knowing their property rights, documenting communications, and standing firm against intimidation. His experience illustrated that even when facing a powerful organization, meticulous preparation and calm, strategic action could lead to justice. As the weeks passed, Jackson focused on enhancing his property. He reinforced boundaries, improved security measures, and even added new features to his land that reminded him of the victory. Every fence, camera, and cleared pathway symbolized resilience against those who underestimated him. Susan, on the other hand, faced not only legal consequences, but also humiliation within the community. Her aggressive tactics, intended to assert dominance, had backfired completely. The story of the 100 houses that never were became a topic of conversation for months, illustrating the dangers of overreach and arrogance. In the end, Jackson reclaimed his sanctuary and ensured that the HOA would think twice before challenging him or any other property owner in the future. The lawsuit was more than a legal victory. It was a testament to preparation, patience, and standing up against abuse of authority. The land was safe, the community more aware, and Jackson's peace restored. And for anyone tempted to underestimate someone who knows their rights and acts decisively, the lesson was clear. Trespass and overreach meet consequences, and patience backed by evidence is a formidable defense. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. It's completely free and really helps this channel stay alive. Thank you for your support.